Top of the morning, fight fans. This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Saul Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez makes this statement about Gennady Golovkin. He says, "What has Gennady Golovkin done since he's fought me? Nothing." Given the excitement generated by last week's trilogy between heavyweight rivals Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, some fans are wondering if we will ever see a third showdown between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. Like the first encounter between Fury and Wilder, the bout between Golovkin and Canelo ended in a draw. Canelo won a close 12-round decision in their rematch in 2018. Golovkin is still wanting that fight at middleweight, where he holds the IBF title. He is expected to face the WBA champion, Ryota Morata, in a trilogy match in December. Canelo has been competing at middleweight, above middleweight, for the last few years. He's captured a light heavyweight title against Sergey Kovalev. Canelo would then drop down to super middleweight, where he's captured the WBC, the WBA, and the WBO. In the main event of Showtime, he will take on Caleb Plant for the full unification at 168. Of course, we know that backstory. Okay, Canelo is not ruling out the possibility of facing Golovkin for a third time, but he also believes that his rival has not accomplished much of anything since their second fight. Canelo has fought 6 times since their second meeting, while Golovkin has only been in the ring 3 times. "I am ready for everything," said Canelo. "I am ready for everything. I am ready to make the best fights. You hang on to that, trilogy fan. I'm doing more important things than him. Where is he? What has he done since he's fought me? Nothing. I am doing other important things in my career, beating champions and undefeated fighters." Let me stop there and let me counterpunch. Canelo Alvarez, he's right about this one, because if you look at Gennady Golovkin, you look at his career, okay, and what he's done since the loss, okay, and we've seen what he's done since the loss. But let's go farther than that, all right? Because we have Gennady Golovkin, though, since he fought Saul Alvarez, okay? He fought him in 17, okay? He fought him in September of 17, and a little bit over 4 years ago. And that was a pretty good fight. I remember seeing it. And it was a fight. It was one of those fights that you really didn't know, okay, well, who takes it? Does Canelo Alvarez takes it because he's always winning decisions? Or did Gennady Golovkin outpunch him, outjab him enough? I think Golovkin beat Canelo Alvarez, but then, you know what I mean? It's Canelo you're talking about. So it was a draw. I get it. It was a draw, and this was in 17, all right? Now, in 18, he fights Vanes Martirosyan, right?
We made USAA Bank for today.
I hate those, dude. Like, stop that.
Today's needs.
But anyway. And then he fights Vanes Martirosyan, which Martirosyan wasn't even a middleweight, okay? He was a super welterweight coming up. And he just got smashed, okay? He smashed him in like 1 round, maybe 2. I can't remember when, but it didn't go to 3, and he destroyed Vanes Martirosyan. He made him feel like he didn't supposed to be there. A classic Golovkin knockout, a Wade knockout. Remember what he did to Wade? He knocked him out by hitting him in the arm, right? So then he fought Saul Canelo Alvarez again later that year. Okay, so that's 2 wins, or should I say 2 fights, and he lost a split decision, okay, majority decision. Then he fought Steve Rolls, and he had an option to fight Demetrius Andrade. He had an option to fight Jamal Charlo, which was the WBC champion. There was nothing there, and he claimed that, oh, well, I don't need to fight them because they haven't fought anyone, but you fight Steve Rolls. And in fact, Him and Jamal Charlo fought over fought over the fight with Steve Rolls. That's how bad it was. Steve Rolls was 19-0 at the time. It was a Canadian fighter. Nobody ever heard of him. But everybody wanted him. Why? Because he was a classic cherry pick. A classic cherry pick, right? And like you guys say in the UK, a proper cherry pick. So nobody knew who he was, okay? Then he steps up next year, like over what? The 6. Okay. He steps into the ring he waits until October of 19 and he fights Sergey Deverenchenko. Yeah, he wins. He beats him, but then he gets hurt by Deverenchenko. Okay. That's the first time I ever seen him like visibly hurt. Like, okay, he's stopped him in his tracks with a right hook to the body. Bang! And then he just stopped him. And I'm like, oh, snap. And then that's when I seen Golovkin finally looking old. But you have to remember something. Golovkin was like, what, 38 at the time? 37, 38? Yeah, he was, 38. Okay. So he was 38 years old at the time because he'll be 40 in January. All right. So then he fights Zaramita, right? And Zaramita was an undefeated fighter. But again, that's another fighter we never heard of. And he had the opportunity to fight other fighters, but he didn't. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing with your career? Are you fighting guys just to look good? Or are you fighting guys just to have this fight with Canelo? Because at the same time, you have to remember Canelo Alvarez and Oscar De La Hoya was having their feud with DAZN because Oscar De La Hoya had this like set aside fight for DAZN for DAZN's sake, and he really didn't discuss that with Canelo. And that was one of the fights that DAZN wanted to see on their platform that Canelo didn't really even care about having anymore. That's where the problem happened. Okay, so it lied in that situation where Golovkin was kind of put on ice for Canelo Alvarez. That's why he signed with DAZN exclusively, but it didn't matter anyway because he didn't want to even fight the other fighters like Jamal Charlo or Demetrius Andrade or those guys like that. He didn't even care. Okay, he didn't even want to fight no one of notice. He just wanted to hang on to Canelo. So basically, ever since 2017, he's fought guys just to wait on Canelo Alvarez. That's all we've seen. He's waited around. He lost his IBF to Sergey Deverenchenko, then turns around a year later and fights Sergey, right? Which is retarded. But it was for the IBF after he's lost the rest of the belts to Canelo Alvarez, and it's supposed to be what he wanted to do initially. He wanted to unify the belts. He wanted to be undisputed, right? He got that Canelo check and he said, to hell with all that. The hell with my dreams, the hell with my ambitions. I don't want to do nothing but fight the redhead El Cinnamon. And that's exactly what he did. Okay, but Canelo Alvarez, he's done top-notch things. He's went to light heavyweight. He's went to super middleweight. Okay, he's unified 3 times at super middleweight. Okay, so he's done a lot in that time. And he's fought twice as much. So he has a busier schedule. He ain't worried about Gennady Golovkin, but obviously Gennady Golovkin is worried about him. And again, you're looking at a guy that's 31 years old taking on a guy that's damn near 10 years his senior that wants a fight with him. What's the deal with Canelo? Why couldn't you fight at everyone else? And the irony of this, people, is that Gennady Golovkin was that guy that everybody was ducking. Okay? Everybody was ducking Gennady Golovkin at one time. Billy Joe, then you had Chris Eubank Jr., and then who'd you have? You had Peter Quillen down there at once upon a time. I haven't seen him in a long time. But then, he was that guy that didn't get those fights. He didn't get the Sergio Martinez fight, right? He didn't get any of those guys. And he wanted those guys and he just couldn't get them, even the Dmitry Pitrogs and those kind of guys, and he didn't get any of those guys, and maybe that's his promotional company's fault because he had a piss poor promotion promotional manager or whatnot, you know, but he got rid of them and all that. So now he is. But it seems like when he got that check from Canelo Alvarez, he wasn't the same anymore. His ambitions were totally drained. And then he expects Canelo still with ambitions because money didn't change him like that. Okay. Still wanted him to give him another opportunity. But like any fighter, you have to earn that spot. And Sergey Deverenchenko is a decent fighter. He's an ex-champion. I get it. But then he hasn't really done anything else but get beat up by Danny Jacobs, right? And Jamal Charlo. Okay, so that win over him doesn't look significant because other guys have did the same thing. So really, how good are you as a fighter now? And again, he's almost 40 years old. He hasn't fought this year at all. And when he fights, it will be a total year that turned around for Gennady Golovkin. So I don't know if Golovkin's trying to either hang around for Canelo for a third fight, give me another shot, drama show, all that shit. Dude, that's been long gone. People don't even talk about Golovkin anymore. Okay, so Canelo Alvarez is right. Golovkin either needs to retire like I wanted him to do years ago, you know, or fight somebody worth notice why he still figures he's decent enough to win fights. But anyway, that's my counterpunch on Canelo Alvarez's comments towards Gennady Golovkin. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.